All right. Welcome to UPSTAGED, the official podcast for Ronin Theatre Collaborative. My name is E.C. Darlingbond. I am the marketing director and basically whatever else I am needed to be at any moment. Melody, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Melody Knudson, and I will be playing Nora Helmer in our production of A Doll's House.
Excellent. And so what is the elevator pitch for A Doll's House?
Oh my goodness, an elevator pitch for A Doll's House.
Yep, we are in the elevator. Don't worry. And we'll make it 30 seconds. A long elevator ride.
I would say it's a production about a process of self-discovery for a young wife. It's an interesting combination of of a kind of a classic story that we see, a classic Victorian story where we have traditional gender roles, and then we also have this kind of element of terror in there as well, which I find really interesting. And we kind of culminate in Nora making some discoveries about herself and about the life that she has and the life that she wants and the person she is and the person she wants to be.
Right. I think the genre of these plays is like it's a social problem typically.
Yes.
So this is one of the classic plays, famously originally from Norway. They had to change the ending in Germany.
Because it was unacceptable.
Yeah. Apparently the lead actress playing Nora said, "I would never leave my children."
Yes.
And that was enough for them to be like, okay, well, we need a new ending.
Yes.
So how do you mix...
spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. She leaves her husband at the end. This is the fate.
Husband and children.
Husband and children, because husbands legally owned their children back then, which is a wild thing to say in any context.
And I think she comes to realize that in the course of the play and her conversations with her husband, that it is not for lack of loving her children, but she comes to the understanding that she has no real ownership or possession or right to them, I suppose, as a mother. Right. So her choice to leave, I think there's an element of recognizing that even if she wanted to take them with her, she couldn't.
Yeah. Well, how do you, with the play being so old and as well known as it is, how do you make it interesting for you yourself? Like, had you read the play before? Have you seen productions of it?
I had not read the play before, and I didn't go to school for theater, so I have not read a lot of these plays. That I feel like a lot of my theater friends that have educational backgrounds in theater have read A Doll's House and they're familiar with it. I was not. But my husband Cody showed me the script, and we watched a film of it when we were discussing what he was talking to me about putting this play up, and I just immediately fell in love with it because even though it is a very old play, it's extremely relatable. Like, on a very personal level, I watched this and I was like, I know her. I know that girl. I have been that girl. And I think that it's been such a popular play because there are a lot of other women who feel that way as well.
Right. Where she is just constantly talked down to and being, I guess, infantilized would be the correct word.
Yes, in a way, and for her, that her enthusiasm for life is even infantilized. That it's not considered the enthusiasm and the joy that she takes in life, and like how much she loves Christmas and how excited she is for Christmas is dismissed as if it's just childish, as if she were a responsible adult, then she wouldn't feel that way about creating a holiday for her family. She wouldn't feel so enthused and excited. She would be doing it out of duty. So when I was working through the script, and as I've read through it, I found a lot of similar experiences, in my younger life. Having experiences where I've been talked down to or treated as if I wasn't as smart as someone else just because that other person was a man. And that was quite a shocking thing. I remember in my very early 20s having experiences like that and just being absolutely flabbergasted that someone was speaking to me like that and that they actually believed that. So I see this in Nora, the way that she's talked down to simply because she's a woman, and throughout the course of this play she starts to realize that this is not, when her husband talks to her like this is not affectionate. It's disrespectful and dismissive.
I mean, what are all the nicknames that Torvald, the character of the husband, uses? It's Squirrel.
Squirrel and Skylark.
Skylark.
My little singing bird.
Child. Precious Little Mortal was the
Precious
one.
Little Mortal.
Yeah, that was very telling. I was joking with Grace, my wife, after this of like, yeah, the last half really just feels like I'm being forced to listen to some sort of Manosphere podcast by Torvald.
Yes. It's kind of brutal. That was one of the things when we were auditioning. Alex, who was playing Krogstad, I read with him during the audition I was reading for Nora and he was reading for Helmer, and Alex just said, "What is this guy? Why is he talking like this? I would never say that." So we were just laughing about how, at least from that angle, things have changed a little bit. I don't know that men would talk to their wives quite so disparagingly.
I mean, we hope.
Right out in the open, at least.
Yeah. Well, especially because there's also the character of Christine, who is a widow and your friend from school.
Yeah.
To where she seems to get marginal more respect because she is a widow. At least, from the read-through we did today, it would seem like she only gets, like, a minute bit more respect just because, like, well, her husband's dead. She can't help that. Or maybe she could.
Yes. Oh, she can't help that.
But even she talks down to Nora throughout
She does. And I think that there's what Christine recognizes in her is, or what it feels to me, playing Nora, and hearing this coming from Christine, it feels like she's being talked down to for valuing the things that she values. She has been through some things that are hard. Christine has definitely had a lot more life experiences than Nora has.
Yeah.
And has experienced things that are more difficult. But even Christine talks to Nora as if she doesn't have any concept of what's going on in the world around her, which I don't think is true. I think Nora has a very good idea about kind of the relationships around her and the people that she values. She hasn't had a lot of experience outside of her home, so things like laws she is not particularly familiar with.
Right.
But she's has a very strong awareness of like the relationships that she's interacting with and how she should behave in order to preserve those relationships and protect them and to uplift people and protect the people she cares about.
Yeah. One thing I've been really enjoying about your performance is that you really bring out that empathy that Nora has for other people, and that she, like, I feel so genuinely upset going through the play because I'm just like, is nobody listening to Nora? Like, Nora's making a lot of sense here on, like, so many points.
Yeah.
And we could... It's easy to chalk that up to, like, well, this is a translation issue, this is a thing about style. Again, the play is over 100
No, I think
years old.
It's written this way and very intentionally.
Yeah. But... I'm sorry, I'm still just so caught up in the feelings of it from...
It's heavy. It is kind of hard to sit through some of the ways that she is talked to. It hits heavy when you hear the way that people speak to her.
Yeah.
She may not be incredibly well informed about life outside of her home because she's not been allowed to leave that space, but she's not an idiot.
Yeah.
She is naive because she has been sheltered and protected.
And the things like the central plot is like she forged a name, so she forged her father's name
in order to borrow money.
In order to borrow money to go on a trip that her husband needed.
To survive.
Yeah, and it never gets brought up the fact that her husband was deathly ill the same year, at the same time her father was actively dying, and nobody.
And she was pregnant.
And she was pregnant, and
with her first
nobody
baby.
acknowledges that at all.
No, everyone just steamrolls over her that as if she had another option.
Yeah.
For this.
Thank you.
And at least in her mind, she feels that she did not have another option. For whatever reason, everyone felt that at the time that Torvald was ill, that he could not know about this. For whatever the reason was, we don't know exactly what that was, and I'm sure historically there's some context for maybe what illnesses were happening or whatever, but for whatever reason, Torvald could not know how ill he was, and so all of this responsibility was on Nora, whose father is actively dying, and while she is pregnant with her first child. And she has to somehow make sure that Torvald lives without telling him.
Well,
she has to get him all the way to another country without him knowing why.
Yeah, and then he fetishizes it, because there's that whole bit about doing the tarantella and dressing up like an Italian, maid, which is just confounding to me of this weird fantasy he has constructed.
They both have a fantasy. I think they're, Joe and I have talked about that in discussing what their relationship is like. They both have a fantasy of what this is. I think he has an idea of Nora and why he loves her and what their relationship is and his responsibility to her, his relationship to her as a husband, and Nora has a fantasy of who Torvald is and her relationship to him, his to her. She views him as her hero, her knight in shining armor, the one that would do anything for her. And, he's just, by virtue of social expectations, can't show all of the time, why he is, or how deeply in love he is with her. But she just knows.
Yeah. The wonderful thing will happen.
The wonderful thing that they'll both sacrifice themselves for each other. That she will go to the ends of the earth for him, and he will prevent that from happening because he loves her so much.
Yeah. Well, they talk a lot in the play about being good, or at least being perceived as being good.
There's a lot of comments on morality in this.
Yeah.
From all of the characters.
Yeah. Krogstad has that whole thing about, in order for me to be good, I have to blackmail
yes!
this husband. And there's that comment that Torvald Helmer, they talked a little bit about, at the beginning, how he was trained to be a lawyer, but he wouldn't do cases that were unseemly, which means...
He wouldn't represent anyone that he, didn't agree with.
Yeah.
There's probably a reason he had to leave his post when they got married, because he wasn't making enough money.
No, he was... There's this movie, Fitzcarraldo, and someone once described it as being it is about a businessman who is a dreamer, and like many dreamers who are businessmen, he is a failed businessman.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, you could tell that the play was written by someone who went to law school, because there is a lot of very exacting language throughout this piece of no, you have to understand, here are the exact steps of how everything...
And they talk a lot, they talk about this idea of goodness and morality in that same way, with this really intense specificity.
Yeah.
About what it is to be a good person, and what makes someone not a good person, and how they have had goodness stripped away from them, or how they have maintained goodness and righteousness.
Yeah. And I think, without turning Nora into a martyr, not to go the exact opposite way with that infantilization to a different sort of idolization, she is the one person who, as far as I can tell, is actively sacrificing herself for her husband.
I think this is where that naivety comes in, and not that husbands and wives do not sacrifice for themselves. That does happen. I think in her case, her sacrificing herself comes out of naivety, because she thinks that Torvald will do the same for her, but they've never actually had they've never had a real conversation about anything.
Right.
So she's made up this whole idea in her head of who he is, and she's sacrificing herself for that idea of the man that she thinks that he is. And finds out that that is not correct.
Yeah, just because you treat other people the way you want to be treated doesn't mean they'll pick up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's not necessarily infantilizing or giving her like a martyr complex to say that she is like extremely self-sacrificial. She is. And she is at the same time very naive. Like there are things about her that are not like amazing. And I kind of like that she's not this perfect heroine.
Yeah.
Like I've seen other productions of this, and I think she's often kind of played as like, it seems as if she's being played to give her some gravitas and maturity and to erase the frivolity from her. And I think that cheapens it.
Yeah.
I feel like her, part of the strength of the character is that she is, that naivety exists, and she is a little bit frivolous and a little bit entitled, and she does have this idea of her relationship and of the world, that she does live in this fantasy. I think that makes it interesting, that she has done things that are illegal,
Yeah.
which she has justified. I feel like we can't take that away from her. It cheapens it. She has to be like a whole person. She's very young, already has 3 children, has not had experience outside of her home.
Seemingly has no mother.
No mother. We never hear about her mother. She only lived with her father, and they were very close.
Yeah. And there was something where the father had like fallen under suspicion for some kind.
And Torvald is the one that saved him, so...
Yeah.
Torvald also has that going for him. Nora loved her father very much, and Torvald saved him, saved his career and his reputation.
Yeah. So, just all these balance levels. I think when they talk early on in the play with Dr. Rank, who is a whole other kettle of fish in the whole... Not infantilization, but very much like this objectification of Nora.
I think he knows her better than her husband, though.
Yeah.
They actually have a better relationship.
Yeah.
Or a more realistic relationship.
It's just weird because... Is he a good person because he's good, or is he a good person because he wants something?
I think that's a question you can ask of everybody in this.
Yeah. Well, Christine comes to the city to seek work because she's heard that her old school friend's husband got a good job.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they haven't talked for 8 years. I mean, neither of them. Now, Nora has not written to Christine since she left, but Christine didn't reach out either. Like, they have not spoken for 8 years.
Yeah.
And Christine shows up at her door to ask for a favor.
Yeah. And I think Nora is exceptionally kind to not take offense to that.
She's quite pleased. She says to Christine, and it comes across kind of patronizing, but I think she's sincere.
Yeah.
When she says to Christine, "It would make me so happy to be of some use to you." Which is one of the things I love about her. It is patronizing, and she doesn't realize that. She's completely sincere in this.
Yeah.
In what she says. She's not offended by Christine asking for a favor. She wants to be able to help.
Yeah. Well, during that conversation with Dr. Rank at the beginning, when they're like, well, hospitals are for the sick, right? Like, that's who needs help. And he says, well, that's exactly what's made society a problem.
Yes.
And it's just like, yeah, Nora is allowed to be messy. Everyone is allowed to have issues and still deserves help.
Yes. I think we kind of overlook sometimes, like, what Nora does in this play, like, with Rank, in order to try and, like, continue covering up this lie. Like, she very intentionally tries to manipulate him. She doesn't know that he's in love with her, but she knows that he's interested. She knows that he thinks she's cute. She knows enough of that to try and exploit it. Very intentionally. That is a very clear choice. We cannot get around that. She's going to try to play the pretty girl game and bat her eyelashes and get her best friend's husband to pay off her debt.
And then he tells her he loves her.
And she's very disappointed because that ruins the whole thing. Because if he actually loves her, she can't dare to take money from him.
Yeah.
I think that's my favorite part.
of just like, well, I can't manipulate you now because now
well, you can do nothing for me now. It would have been fine if he just thought she was pretty, but when he says that he's actually in love with her, then she doesn't make the request of him to help her. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. And your background, career-wise, is in psychology, in therapy.
Yes, I work as a therapist. Yeah.
And has that helped when you are exploring character roles? Because I've heard the advice of every actor should be their character's like lawyer to a certain extent. Does that help you find a way in to justify maybe some of the disjointed elements?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the way that my brain works, when I'm working with clients, that was in place before I was even working as a therapist. So I think I've always approached people that way, and in turn kind of approach characters that way. There's not really any judgment for them. There's interest in why people are the way they are and why they do what they do. No behavior exists in a vacuum. When I'm sitting with clients in my office, they can say whatever they want to say, whatever their experience is. I want to hear it and I want to understand. And I want to know what got them there and what's important to them that they're wanting going forward. There's not really judgment, just a lot of curiosity, a lot of compassion. And I kind of interact with characters the same way. I don't really feel the need to judge them for things that are kind of uncouth.
Yeah.
They're allowed to have flaws. I think it makes them more interesting. And I think, I don't know, in a weird way, it makes me protective of them or care for them in a different way when they're not perfect. When you see the good and the bad, they become more human, even though they're only characters on page.
Yeah. So, in terms of this production, what has been the most challenging aspect? I would have to imagine it's the language, but, everybody has their own challenge, whether it comes to memorization or trying to find those hills and valleys, as
the emotional arc in this is really a challenge. It's not easy, and it's not clear. Nora does a lot of talking to herself in this play, but she does so without always communicating the complete thought, so you kind of have to fill in the blanks about what she's thinking and what's going on in her head and how she feels in that moment. And tracking the emotional arc has been a challenge to kind of figure out where she is, because the emotional intensity gets to a really, really high place. It's not kind of the normal romantic story arc where we just come up and we hit the climax of the story and then we come down and we resolve. It hits a really intense point. So trying to track where she is on that roller coaster all the way up to the top. Because you can't have her being too desperate too early.
Right. And
she can't play the entire thing just in the same flavor of panic. So trying to color that and discover what that looks like throughout the course of the play has been a challenge. Trying to decide, here she is, she's worried but not yet panicked. She is trying to find a solution here. And then at this point she is completely given up, or at this point she is completely desperate. And trying to identify what those are in each scene with each other person in the play has been an interesting challenge.
Well, especially because there is this sense of, as a full warning, there are moments of suicidal ideation. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of frank discussions between her and Krogstad, which to me was the most compelling relationship in all of this, mm-hmm. where she has this weirdly, intimate understanding with her blackmailer, where he's like, listen, I understand, you're in a bad place right now, and I'm sorry I have to take advantage of this.
Because I'm in a bad place as well.
Yeah.
And so he will exploit her vulnerability in order to get out of a vulnerable place himself. Yeah, that relationship is really fascinating.
Yeah. Well, so heavy day.
It's a heavy one.
It's a heavy day. It's been sprinkling and overcast here in Arizona. Everybody is a little off kilter about it.
It's true.
Yeah, but the show opens on July 31st for one weekend at the Irish Cultural Center. Then there's a small break, and then you're back, I believe it is August 15th through August 24th at Stage Left. Mm-hmm. You know, how many years have you been acting now?
Oh, wow. I always say that I started acting when I was 3. I did a play in my Sunday school teacher's backyard, and I have a video of it. It's like when you say, people talk about catching the acting bug, you can see it. It's like clocking at 3 years old. Everyone's paying attention to me. Yes, okay, yes, I want to do this more. And I've just been doing it since then.
So only 15 years.
Only 15 years. Yes. No, most of my life it's been a part of my life, and I started performing here in the Valley maybe like 2012, 2013-ish, somewhere in there. And took a break for grad school to get my master's degree and get my counseling license, and now we're back in it.
And were you at all nervous to take on this role?
I was nervous about this one for, on a lot of levels, because it's such an iconic role. It's like one of the most produced plays ever. It's recognizable, and Nora's such an iconic character, which is always a task. And
it's in the public domain, so no one has to pay the rights for it, so that helps.
Yes, that does help. It's, I always want to do justice to the character. And you want to do right by your director and your cast as well. And we have such a strong cast for this that it feels a little bit intimidating. Or it did initially. It felt intimidating because I've been performing less frequently than I used to when I was younger. Now that I'm working full-time as a therapist and I'm not performing as much, and it takes me a minute to get kind of in the groove, and we have an extremely talented and experienced cast working on this, which is amazing and was a little bit scary, but I'm finding that connection to Nora, and I'm very pleased to be working opposite each of these actors on stage. It is an absolute blast to work with each of them up there. We have a really good time.
I can tell.
It's a good crew.
Yeah, sitting in on the rehearsal, it's just been lovely. Closing up here, I would just ask, when going into a role that is so heavy, like we're feeling it, having just had the line through and talking through everything, how do you find that time to decompress after being because it's hard, it's difficult. I don't necessarily want to endorse the method acting of other people to where it gets to the point of I treat everyone shittily, but it's fine because I'm acting right now.
I find so far my experience with these more intense roles has been that they have mirrored parts of my life that have been challenging, that were probably the most difficult pieces to process. And so even though it's heavy, it's cathartic. So it feels like there's a release and an openness after working through it, really, rather than feeling like I need to decompress. Working through this character and through this play feels like the decompression.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I'm kind of lucky in that. I don't have to shift things around too much to come out of it.
Yeah.
I feel good getting done with rehearsal.
Well, that's good. That's David Desmouchin, a character actor, said something to the effect of to me, acting is therapeutic, but not therapy. It's not.
Yes.
It's not a way to get out of seeing someone or meeting with a specialist.
100%. It does not take the place of that, but it definitely feels like, I think some of these experiences, I've had the opportunity to play these roles that are women that have these similar experiences, and it's like being able to replay the thing, the experience, and you can make some adjustments or say the thing that you wanted to say, and it feels really empowering. So I really enjoy that part.
Yeah. Well, even with this being a psychological horror, I'm very hopeful that people will take from the ending that empowerment.
Mm-hmm. I think they will. I feel like it is very relatable. That is what I can say.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to be a fun one. You do a Cody Goulder production, and it's always fun. He does not do things. He doesn't take the easy road as a director ever.
No, and it's what makes it interesting.
It does. It does. It is very difficult. He's been directing me since I started auditioning out here, pretty much. Directing me, prepping me for every audition for like 10 years, and he always does a very good job, and I get frustrated every time, inevitably, because he thinks very outside the box, but it always results in a good product. So we'll have an interesting show. It's not the traditional Doll's House, but...
Yeah, well, who wants to have it always be the same?
Exactly.
And we'll find that all out and more. July 31st. First at the Irish Cultural Center before transferring for the last 2 weekends at Stage Left from August 15th to August 24th. Thank you, Mel.
Absolutely.
All right.